So welcome to our English podcast. Today we have Sandra as a guest, and we are going to have a great conversation. Hi, Sandra. How are you doing?
Hello everyone, thank you for having me. So I'm good and I'm glad to be there.
Yeah, I'd like to ask you about your personal experience in studying English. So I want you to speak about yourself, how you studied language, like some methods, ideas. You also I'd like to hear your experience in teaching English. So what did you do? How did you teach? And maybe something. It's ideally it must be related to English, right? But you may
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about whatever you
It's
like.
clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll try to make you stay on the path. If you go too far aside, I'll just I stop you and ask some questions to bring you back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So
it's clear. It's a wide topic that can be discussed for many hours, I think, and that's why, about an hour, I think, is still enough to uh, highlight the main points of this issue. So that's why I'm ready to discuss it.
tell me your
No.
story. Like, how did you start studying English?
Well, it started several years ago. As by many of us, it was at school, and as a school student, I started learning German at school, and yeah, it was interesting for me. I have to say, because it was something new for me, something unusual, uh, because before starting German at school, I was taught English by my mother in the primary school. I learned several words, several phrases too. Uh, in fact, these were usual subjects like fruit, like furniture, like animals, etc. Um,
Just
but
you learn some words, right?
yeah, mostly these were words, no, and some simple phrases too. And then I studied German, and yeah, it was very interesting. It differed from English in writing, in pronunciation, in spelling.
So the first language actually was German, not English.
Yeah, yeah.
English
And
was just.
what about English? Yeah, the story began at university, and mm, so seriously, so serious studying began at university. Uh, in the second year of my study at university, and at first I should admit it, it was difficult because uh, at that time we were very deep into German, with a lot of subjects concerning German, theoretical, practical subjects. So English was like a subsidiary subject, and it was taught not so deeply in comparison to German. So we were not involved so deep into English, and we had a lack of practice. What about speaking? What about listening again? That's why I have to say, unfortunately, after graduating from university, I I was not able to speak so fluently, so freely English,
Did you
and
did you study in Kaluga, KSU?
yeah, I studied here at our Kaluga State University at present, yeah, at the Faculty of Foreign Languages, and
Was German your
yeah, it
primary
was a
subject?
German faculty, yeah, German department of our faculty,
Mhm.
yeah, and as a second language we
The
studied
third, the
English.
third, not the second, the third.
Yeah. Yeah. So and you should know, at that time we had not so many access to different sources like podcasts, like videos on different channels, as today, YouTube, etc.
What
Uh,
year was it? Like thousand,
yeah,
thousand three, four,
2001, 2006.
uh-huh.
Yeah, actually 5 years. And what we had, these were newspapers, these were some recordings.
Lots of grammar books, probably.
Yeah, yeah, our student books, our usual students' books, and uh, we had also reading lessons where we read different books. But as for me, I was not passionate about them because for me these books were a bit dull, boring. Um, I can't say that I don't like classic books because, in fact, I like them. But these books were very dull for me.
Did you have something like speaking clubs back in the days, or
Mm,
it was just
no,
studying,
no,
listening
because
to the teacher?
uh, at
How did you practice English?
uh,
Like what was?
how did we practice?
Yeah.
No, we just tried to speak to each other. Yeah, it was the main way to practice English or German or whatever. And also we tried to write something, maybe some letters. We tried to communicate, no, mostly. What about writing letters to foreigners, and what about speaking? There was not so much practice. Yeah, what about speaking? I have to say there was a great lack of speaking practice.
How many teachers did you have? Like
How
at
many
university?
teachers
Was there some
were?
particular person who
Uh,
like inspired you to
um,
study in depth?
Actually, we had the only teacher, English teacher at university, and
The one?
she was, yeah, only one teacher. Um, she taught all the lessons that we had in English, and she was quite young enough. Maybe I think maybe 6 or 7 years.
Older than you.
Yeah. Uh, Older than us, and yeah, she didn't. She didn't find us as a audience that could be successful in English, and that the audience that could her help to develop as a teacher, as an English teacher. So we just were taught by her, and nothing more.
Did you try to read some original works when you were studying at university? Some books from, maybe from library. There are lots of books in library.
Yeah, we read enough of English stuff. We read articles, we read newspapers, we tried to retell them at the lessons. It was our main way of work when we were at the last year of our study at university. And yeah, we read books also, and as I said, the books that we were suggested to read, they were dull. And then later I tried to find other books for reading, but again, at that time we had not so many chances to choose something good for reading. We had just several comings of booksellers to our university, and then we could buy these books there. We could choose these books there, and we could choose these books in some shops. But as I remember, at that time, there was not so large choice of such literature.
When did you start to understand like what you were reading, or listen to native speakers and understand them? What was the time?
Mm.
Was it at university or later?
I think, as I remember, it was later after graduating from university, because when studying at university, I had not so much practice in speaking in oral English, and
But
after graduating, I worked as a teacher for a year, and then I came to a factory and I worked as an interpreter, and then I had a good chance to practice my speaking English. I had a great chance to be fully involved in English from different points, and so it was, so to speak, the top of my practice in English.
when you worked at the factory, right?
How long?
No, when you work at the factory,
Ah.
it was the top of your
Yeah,
experience.
exactly, yeah. Because besides the written translations, we had to make oral translations. We had several delegations from different countries, and we had to speak, we had to explain our guests everything what they needed.
Did you like it, or it was kind of forceful?
Nowadays I regret that I was afraid of speaking to foreigners. I was quite young enough, and that's why I was not confident in my skills, and it was hard. It was really hard, but luckily I saw that our guests, our visitors, they helped me, and in some situations they understood our engineers, for example, our chiefs, mostly without words, just pointing at
Kind
the
of
subject.
sign language.
Mostly, it was technical English, everything what relates to this, all the things, all the tools, all the machine parts, and everything, all the definitions were there. And at first it was hard, but then I saw that I'm still able to translate even technical English, and I'm very grateful that I had this experience in the past.
How about now? Like, do you have some sense of progress, or it's like stopped at certain moment and you don't feel any?
Definitely yes, because
And how much time do you dedicate to like developing your language now?
no, in fact, I try to dedicate my free time as much as I can to English, because nowadays I feel that I'm very interested in it. I am very fond of reading books. I'm very fond of reading articles, listening to different podcasts in English.
What kind of
and
podcasts?
I see that the more I listen to audios in English, the more my listening skills are getting better.
Let's talk about
It's obvious.
Let's talk about some content. Like, what kind of podcasts do you like to listen?
I should say mostly I prefer entertaining podcasts. For example, different interviews with sportsmen, famous cinema stars, actors, singers, etc.
Do you listen to them on YouTube or on Spotify? Where? Like what?
Uh,
What's
Mostly I find it on YouTube, and if I find something interesting on other sources, I can download it or just listen it.
uh-huh.
Or
So, but it's not consistent. So you say it's like it's more entertaining, just to enjoy,
mm, no, yeah,
to
yeah,
relax, maybe.
but it's a yeah, I know. That's it's not so maybe it's not so useful for developing my linguistic skills, my language skills, but it's very useful from the other side. It's very useful to train my listening,
Hmm.
just train listening, because usual everyday speaking, it's without pauses, without difficult words, difficult phrases, uh, unknown definitions. It's just speech. It's just free speech, and that's why it's a pleasure to listen to such a free conversation, or just a free talking about no, almost nothing. Yeah,
Hmm.
but you perceive this speech and you understand it, and you feel that you are a part of this language, and you understand that you are able to perceive it almost without taking any effort.
Hmm. Do you try to retell? For example, you may listen to some podcasts, and after that, you might just try to retell to yourself just
Mm.
what you have heard, or just to think about it for a moment
Yeah,
using English.
what about retelling? Yes, I have thought about it many times, but I should admit I'm a bit
Lazy.
lazy. Yeah, yeah, not busy, but lazy to retell and to force myself to retell it.
Hmm.
But nevertheless, I always try to retell it in my mind. So to summarize what I've heard, what I have listened to, and just to think about what I
Hmm.
have heard. Uh,
How about books? Like what was your last book?
uh, so let me think a bit. My last book was
Maybe.
a kind of biography, again, a biography of a musician,
Hmm.
a pop singer, but yeah,
Why did you decide it? Why did you
uh,
decide to read it?
because not so mostly not for English, but because of the topic that was there. The topic was why people are starting uh, drug abuse, and why they decide to stop it. What are the reasons? Because nowadays it's a you see it's a big problem for many of us, not only in Russia but all over the world. And yeah, it's interesting to uh, read this experience because this experience is uh, very sincere, is very open, and mm, without embellishments,
Uh-huh.
so to speak. Uh, and it's very interesting. I have found a lot of interesting things for me there, such as why people stop uh, abusing alcohol and drugs. Uh, like
And what was?
he wrote, I saw my face in the mirror and I understood I could not see it anymore. I could not see myself in such shape
So
anymore.
it was
And that,
autobiography, right?
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
autobiography.
Who was the musician?
The musician is
Was the girl, guy?
it's an American pop singer from the band Backstreet Voice.
Hmm.
Maybe you
Yeah,
know.
Britney Spears.
Yeah, yeah. This is this pop singers.
Yeah, I guess
A huddle, yeah, a huddle.
I even could remember some songs. I heard a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it when I was a
Mm-hmm.
child.
Yeah. Uh, these songs were very popular, yeah, several years ago,
Uh-huh.
and yeah.
Was she a drug addict? Like,
Mm?
was she a drug addict, Britney
Mm-hmm.
Spears? Really?
Yeah, yeah.
And how did she quit? Like, how did she quit? How did she quit?
Mm.
Or she didn't quit? Or she still
I
uses
I
drugs?
don't remember. In fact,
Uh-huh.
it's interesting, but I don't remember.
Yeah, but musicians are quite famous, right? Like
Yeah,
for
maybe
being addicts,
they
and
are familiar. Yeah, they.
you get
Uh,
lots of inspirations from drugs and all these lifestyles.
yeah. Uh, but well, of course, maybe they performed on the stage many times,
Hmm.
but maybe they are not familiar to each other.
Hmm. Let's discuss a little bit like the way how you taught the language.
Uh,
Like after graduation from university, you said you were working as a teacher for a year. Like
how I was taught.
yeah, no, how were you teaching?
How I
Yeah,
taught.
yeah.
So
So did you use some like usual standard methods like textbooks or maybe something else?
yeah,
There was something
uh,
special.
I can say that I applied. I tried. Better to say, I tried to apply different methods at my lessons. I tried to apply standard, usual methods, and I tried to combine it with those things that could be interesting for everyone in my group. Um, I applied different games. I applied different ways of work that could encourage children to learn English further and further. And
Did you just school at school?
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I taught children at school. Yeah, and it was the primary school
Hmm.
and the first year of the uh, middle school.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
What would you say about grammar?
what
Like
did they say about grammar?
what do you say about
uh,
grammar? Like
what?
do you like to study grammar, or do you think
Um,
it's necessary to?
yes, I know there are a lot of arguings about grammar, uh, if it's necessary or if it's absolutely useless thing. But to my mind, it's a crucial point in learning a foreign language because it's a base of language. I don't vote for studying grammar so deeply with all the exceptions, with all the cases that we maybe would not find would not face never. But the basic rules of grammar should be learned for sure.
Mhm. But
Uh,
should they be learned at the beginning, or maybe it makes sense to wait for a while, like learn some ways of speaking or describing whatever you're doing, and then later, like children, for example, they're not taught grammar from you know the moment when they start speaking. They are taught grammar only when they go to school,
mm-hmm.
and usually it's not a good. And again, like you may go to school, study your native language for 10 years, and you end up knowing nothing about grammar, but you still may speak.
Mm-hmm. Uh, yeah, I would say that kids should be taught grammar a bit later. At first, we, as teachers, we should apply different games, different entertaining ways of learning English, because it resonates to the kids' psychology to their age, and that's why studying grammar with all these difficult rules, as for English, all these rules about verbs and so on, it's very difficult and boring for them, and I think it's we should start study grammar a bit later. I think at the age of 13, 14 years maybe. So
Yeah, but what is the best way of teaching grammar? What do you think? Because just reading textbooks, or maybe there's some way of applying your knowledge immediately after studying. Maybe taking one rule and using it for 1 week or even 1 month, and then taking another rule, so becoming confident in it. And
no, you see, taking just one rule, it means nothing. It doesn't work.
yeah, but if you take it like once a week, and in a year there are 50 weeks, so in a year you may become confident using 50 different rules. And eventually, if you continue studying for 5 years, you'll know, like in 10 years, in 5 years, you'll know like 250 rules.
At first, we need to choose these rules that are necessary for constructing, for building our usual phrases. So we need pronouns, we need nouns, and we need verbs. And what about nouns? We need learn plural and singular forms of nouns. We need to learn pronouns and verbs at first in present forms.
Yeah, 300 irregular verbs. 300 irregular verbs.
Yeah, no, irregular verbs, they can be
Put off
no,
for the future.
they can be yeah, put off at first, but later they can be put into different groups, and we can see that all these verbs in groups are very similar to each other. Like I don't know.
Buy, bought,
Buy, bought, fight,
think,
fought,
thought,
yeah.
yeah.
So teach, taught, and it's like a poem, like a song. It's very easy to memorize them.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot of effort to do this.
Yeah, the problem then when you memorize them, when you have a real conversation, and you need to use this verb, you will remember all 3 forms, and it takes a lot of time.
Yeah. I've noticed it several times when studying children. Yeah, even not only what about verbs, but what about numbers. I, for example, I ask my student to say 9 in English, yeah, and the student starts counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. Yeah, I can't explain this phenomenon. Yeah. But it happens. And what about verbs? Yeah, it's an interesting question how to activate the needed form in speech.
It's about just practicing more and more.
Yeah, the most efficient way, yeah, to practice and to practice. There are several ways how to master these forms. For example, you take a simple text in English. All the verbs are in present simple form. Yeah? Well, for example, the dog goes for a walk. Yeah? The dog runs to the river and sees a fox. they have a conversation, etc. I would not continue, just to give an example. And you read this text in some student books, in some new ways of teaching English. There are such methods. Then you convert this text into past simple forms. The dog went for a walk. You and etc. etc.
The fox, they ran.
Yeah. And in such way you practice the verb forms, and at the same time you
memorize.
you are getting used to memorize the
You don't remember. You just see it in the context, right?
you see the contrast, right, between the past and the present. How it sounds in present and how it sounds in the past forms. It's an effective way, I can say.
All right.
It should be applied often, I think, at the lessons.
What do you think about English culture in general? do you like it? And not necessarily English, maybe American culture, or those cultures which speak English as a primary language.
Maybe it can be sound banal, but the language reflects the mentality of the nation, of people who speak this language, and this language is, for me, this language is a bit mechanical, I can say.
Mechanical.
And it reflects this maybe a mechanical, artificial perception of the world, and it reflects the main values of people who speak English. For example, body, money. For example.
How about spirit? And, I guess there are different. Like you can say that it's only represents a certain values. Since we have all these opposite values also represent in the language. Like Shakespeare doesn't talk a lot about money. You only find lots of amusing and high quality stuff there.
But nevertheless, there are enough evidences that Western people have these material things on the first place in their lives.
So you want to contrast them with Eastern cultures, or?
Because the Eastern cultures are more focused on spiritual things.
Do you think it's the case, like to contrast America and Russia and say that we are more focused on spiritual things?
Again, maybe I say a banal thing, but Russia and maybe it's our faith. Russia is always somewhere in between. We cannot define where we are. We try to combine material things, and we try to combine it with spiritual development of people. We try to support our traditions, our customs, and it's our reality that we have to be involved in the world economical system, and we need to be practical too.
Do you think that some cultures may be superior to others? Or languages, like do you think some, like English may be superior to Russian or to Chinese or to any other language, Italian?
No, I would not say so, because what about Chinese language? It's this language is, if I'm not mistaken, is older than English language, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's why this language can keep much more hidden information in it, and it can translate much more than this relatively new language
Mhm.
like modern
Yeah,
English.
but why
So
all people are crazy about English? I mean, no, everybody wants to speak English. All countries
mm.
like take English as second language and teach it at schools. Like not all, but most of them. So why it's the case? What's your opinion?
Oh, to my mind, personally, it's just a fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has begun several years ago, and nowadays it's continuing this direction. Uh,
Is it going to continue forever, or at some moment
mm,
another language will replace English as no English replaced French or Latin before?
uh,
No, it's no like
I'm not so good at political things, and but I think, and I'm sure that uh, the leading role of the language, like English now, depends on uh, what country is the leader in the world
so. It's
now.
like about politics. It's
Yeah,
not about
yeah,
culture or some
yeah.
richness of the language. It's more
Yeah,
about
because
political
everything
station.
starts with politics.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, these countries like Great Britain, America, uh, it's obvious for everyone that they are leaders now and in the world.
Well,
Uh,
but again, it's like in the same sphere, in materialistic, as you
mm,
call it, sphere, right?
yeah.
They're probably not leaders in like spiritual sphere. Maybe it's still
Mm,
somewhere else, like in Tibet, for example, or
yeah.
any other countries.
And yeah, you are right, but and they try to show that this language is necessary for everyone. Yeah,
Hmm.
and we perceive it like like real thing.
Yeah, but in science,
Real.
it's not just politics. It's also in science, in art, in
Yeah,
other areas.
we shouldn't forget that a lot of again literature is written in English. Yeah, there are a lot of famous English writers
No, I was watching
that.
some videos, some
Mhm,
lectures, long time ago,
mhm,
2012, 2011, and most of the information came from English, and
mhm,
it was kind of useless to watch these lectures since I could understand that if I study English, I just will watch it in original. And most of Russian scientists who were presented in these lectures, they wrote their papers in English
mhm,
since they immediately had an access to all these, people who also were concerned about these sciences. Whereas if you write it in Russian, there are few people who can read it, who can understand it, but you will not have a thoughtful, thoughtful conversation.
mhm,
So you'll like your ideas will not get certain value if you just present them in Russian language. Whereas in English, it's valuable for the entire world.
mhm.
Looks.
Yeah, it's true, and mm, the cutting edge information, the cutting edge achievements of technology of science are written in English now, and modern students tend to find this information exactly in English because if you want to be uh, deep into the subject, you need to read it in a region, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to find this article exactly in English because in Russian there is no such information, such cutting edge information.
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately.
Yeah, and
For me.
the internet as well. So on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know how many, but it looks like 50% of everything what's going on the internet.
No,
It's going
as
on in
as
English.
far as I know, what about biology? Uh, there is a lot of stuff that is written exactly in English, and this stuff is uh, the latest,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and most,
The state of the art science.
yeah, and nobody can imagine that such things are written when a person doesn't read it in English, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I vote for studying English in this case.
Oh.
And anyway, I vote for studying languages because it widens our horizons.
What changed in your understanding of language, like for all these years? So I guess first when you started studying, you had some kind of vague picture what it means to study the language, and the farther you go, the better you understand. So were there some fundamental changes in your path, like with studying the language?
Mm. I can say that at first, at university again, it was just work,
Mm-hmm.
just studying work, and I studied something. I studied uh, rules. I read texts. I took exams, and it was my main goal. Yeah.
To
Mm,
pass to
yeah,
pass an
to
exam,
pass
yeah,
this. Yeah.
to get the license.
But yeah, but later I understood that I need develop exactly practical skills, and I realized that when I listened to something, I could not put it together. So all the information, because the pieces of the phrase, the pieces of the sentence were like the pieces of glass, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
or broken glass, and uh, I heard words, but I could not understand the whole thing, the whole sentence, yeah, and it took a lot of effort to analyze it and put together. So and step by step, I trained and I tried to get used to exactly putting all the said together. And I can't say that nowadays I'm so great at this, but I see the obvious progress because the more I listen to audios, the more I taking practice, the better I understand the English speech.
Do you use it now for your work? For example, you may have to find some information
Mm-hmm.
to understand something,
Mm-hmm.
and there are two ways. You may read something in English, or you may use the internet and read something in Russian. So do you use English to get some practical information for your job, for your maybe daily life?
What about job? Unfortunately, I cannot use such information at my job because my job at staff department. I doubt that I can find something useful
Yeah, what
for.
kind of skills do you need to work at your job to do your job in the
Uh,
best way?
Mostly it's analytical work. Mostly it's work with people. No, maybe some psychological stuff
Yeah,
could be useful in this case. Maybe, uh, yeah, or how to develop.
some communication skills or
Yeah, how to
or
develop yourself as a uh, as a part of team, for example. I don't know. Or maybe, but
It's like interpersonal group, small group communication. Maybe even
yeah.
public speaking. Do you do some public speaking there at your work? Like to talk to a group?
Very rare, very rare. But sometimes I
Yeah, but
have
still
to.
maybe not in your professional, but if you in your personal life. So there are plenty of information that may be, you know, helpful to improve your life. And like, have you tried to think about like using English as a tool to get certain information which you need to solve your day-to-day problems?
You know, I prefer I still prefer to use the Russian star
So
in this case. Yeah,
uh-huh.
it's more closer to me, and it's more familiar to me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
How much time do you spend like studying English now? I mean, not studying, but using, watching some videos.
practicing using
Yeah,
English. Uh,
an hour a day.
Maybe an hour and 2 hours
2 hours.
2 hours a day. I usually dedicate about 40, 50 minutes to listening, and then I can read something. But
How much time do you
if
spend on German? Like, do you still like, continue working on your German?
Yeah, German is a crucial point. A forgotten friend of mine. Um, Nowadays, I read a book in English and
In English? In
in
German?
German.
Uh-huh.
Sorry,
Uh-huh.
we are talking in English, and yeah, sorry. And yeah, I read a book in German. This book was bought in German when I visited this country
When were you there?
in 2020.
Last year.
Yeah, last year.
During the
Yeah,
pandemic?
no, before
Before?
pandemic. Before pandemic, the pandemic was at the beginning then. Yeah, and we managed, me and my friend, we managed to visit Germany. Yeah, and we were lucky to do this before pandemic. Exactly. Yeah, and I bought this book there, and
What's the book?
the book.
What is the book?
The book. Oh, the book is about a guy who suffered from a serious disease. I think it's leukemia.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, blood cancer or
Uh-huh.
something like that. Yeah, and the book tells about his friendship with the elder woman, his neighbor, and yeah, there are a lot of interesting psychological things. How a person can go through this, like recovering from cancer, and etc. etc. And at present, I think I've already read a third of this book. Yeah, and I'm getting a real pleasure
How
from it.
much time do you spend on reading?
Mm,
Half an
Again,
hour?
about an hour.
An hour.
About an hour, because half an hour it's not enough to
But you don't
to
read
be
it.
immersed
Yeah,
into.
you don't read it every day. It's just from time to time. Right?
Every second day,
Every second.
I say, yeah,
Uh-huh.
every second day, because sometimes I cannot find time, or I'm a bit tired for reading this after work.
Do you watch some videos on YouTube in German?
Mm,
No?
no, because
But you understand German as well as you understand English. I mean, you may
yeah.
listen. Or
I was
better.
When visiting Germany, before going there, I was afraid I would not understand anything, but luckily I was able to understand, because at that time Mm, I had almost no practice in
Uh-huh.
German.
So your English actually better than your German.
Better.
Mhm.
Definitely is better. Yeah. But like many people say, if you have learned something, you can pull it out, yeah,
Mhm.
so to speak, when it's needed.
Yeah.
Uh, Even though it has not been used for a long
So you actually
time.
don't forget anything. It's still
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah,
in your
yeah,
mind.
it's stored
Hmm.
in the storage of your mind.
Yeah,
It's,
in
somewhere
your
for
biological computer. All right.
exactly. Yeah.
So a few more questions about motivation. Like
Hmm.
in general, what motivates you to study language, and what do you think may motivate people who just start studying language and it's hard for them to force themselves?
Hmm.
Just motivation in general. What would you say?
No, yeah. First of all, I should say that motivation plays an extremely important role in studying foreign language. Mm, Maybe it's mostly important than in other things and in other spheres. Um, I found motivation in the study process itself. Yeah,
Hmm.
because it's for me it's very interesting to find out something new, find out something unusual for me, and I like making discoveries, so to speak. Not big discoveries, of course, but small discoveries. Uh, Lately, again, about this book in English, I saw the title of the book. It was uh, Facing the Music and Living to Talk About It. And I was uh, I was a bit stupid not to catch the wordplay, because the author of the book is a musician, and the title is Facing the Music, because he writes about how it starts, how he uh, has become a musician, and then in the video, I I found this video by accident, and I saw the comment that facing the music means figuratively a completely different thing.
What does it mean?
It means you you have gone through
Bad experience?
through, yeah, bad experience, through some troubles, and now you have to fix all these results of these troubles, of your behavior,
Hmm.
of your negative behavior, uh, distracting behavior, and so it was a small discovery for me, just
Hmm.
uh,
So you say it's like
a single.
finding something new motivates you to to
Yeah,
continue to study.
yeah, yeah.
But what do you
And
think?
the ability to just the ability to understand the foreign speech, just the ability to read and understand the
So
foreign
kind of
speech.
self-satisfaction, I said.
Yeah, yeah, because when people say, I need foreign language for my work, I need foreign language for traveling, it's nonsense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also like for me the basic motivation is just the process itself. It's so
Mm,
rewarding. You
yeah.
talk for 2 hours and wow, that's so cool. I can do that. Like next
Mm,
time, I might try it. Like
yeah.
to improve it, to make something like to talk for longer time, or just to study something and see how can I do. Like if I'm able to study like this book or this idea, am I able to explore it and find something new and interesting, or even like tell about it, like to have a conversation. So it's always kind of fascinating that when you're able, you just feels good. When you go to the gym, yeah, then you like practice, do some exercise, and your body just gets stronger, and this sensation of strength or power is just actually what gives you motivation. And the same with studying language, you just have kind of intellectual power, and
Exactly, yeah.
it doesn't matter whether you apply it for your work or not, it's just using something, doing something meaningful.
Yeah, when we are talking about brain training, exactly foreign language is the best way to train your
Intellectual abilities.
intellectual abilities, your mind, and the elder you are getting, the more important it is to train your mind. Yeah, in this
Okay,
terms.
one last question. Like, what was the stupidest thing which you heard about studying languages? in English?
The most stupid
Yeah,
thing. Oh,
unexpected question.
unexpected. Yeah, really. Let me think. A couple of
So
seconds.
there are lots of some cliches, or people say you may study English in 6 months and be able to speak like a native speaker. Just buy my course and follow this program.
Oh, I would not take into account because it's about marketing, about selling products, and
Yeah, but again, what's the stupidest thing which you've heard?
well, I think the most stupid thing is, yeah, exactly. You will be able to speak English in 2 weeks.
Okay, Sandra, thank you so much for a conversation.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah. Guys, if you are listening to it, subscribe to the channel and do all these things, comments, whatever.